Today we are diving into the foundation of and exploring triads. I'll be showing you how open chords and triads are related. I'll be showing you major and minor triad shapes on the G, B and E and the D, G and B strings that you can move around the neck, and I'll show you how to work these out. I'll finish with some exercises that you can incorporate into your practice. So why do triads get so much conversation time? Number one, they are the core of all chords. Number two, they offer us different voicings and registers to play the same chord in. So we can take all the open chords we know and play them anywhere across the neck to a different effect. Number three, we can use them to vary our riff, rhythm and lead guitar playing. And number four, for some it makes guitar playing much more accessible when we have options of playing chords using just 3 strings. To help understand a triad, I'm firstly going to take a look at some of our old favourite common open chords, major and minor ones only in this lesson. When people first come to playing guitar, they usually memorise shapes for chords. C, G, D minor, A, E minor, etc. This is great, but it does have its limits. I'm going to help you, or aim to help you, unlock this a little bit, starting with the C chord. Once we know what makes up a chord, as well as how to work out the notes on the guitar neck, we can find these chords in different places. So starting with the C chord, in the open position, we play 5 strings for this chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But let's look at what notes are in the chord. So in order from the A string downwards, the 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the A is a C. The middle finger on the 2nd fret of the D is an E. The open G string, the 1st finger 1st fret B is a C, and the open E string. So we have C, E, G, C, E. So yes, we're playing 5 strings, but we're only actually playing 3 separate notes, C, E and G. The doubling up of certain notes gives the chord a fuller sound and a different resonance, but at its core, we only need 3 notes to create a C chord. To give a bit more theory-based information looking at the C major scale, I'm going to play this in the open position because that's where we're sitting, but I could play this in a few different places. So for the purpose of this, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. The notes are numbered 1 to 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we take notes from this scale to create the chord. If we look at the 3 notes we need to make our C chord, the C, E and G, and call them by their number positions in the C major scale, we have C is number 1, we have E is number 3, and we have G is number 5. Another example, an A minor open chord. Again, we play 5 strings in this chord too. The notes in order are open A string, 2nd fret D string, which plays an E, 2nd fret G string, which plays an A, 1st fret B string, which plays a C, and open E string. So the notes in order are A, E, A, C, E. Again, just 3 notes, A, C and E in this chord. The related scale, the A natural minor scale, consists of A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. Again, 1 to 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Number position, the notes from the A minor chord, which are A, C and E, are the A is number 1 in the minor scale, the C is number 3 in the minor scale, and the E is number 5 in the minor scale. I'm sure you're seeing the pattern, but just one more example. G chord. We play 6 strings, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In the 4th fingered G chord, the middle finger plays a G, 3rd fret E string, the index finger plays a B, 2nd fret A string, open D string, open G string, 3rd finger plays 3rd fret on the B string, which is a D, and then we have 3rd fret E string again with the pinky, which is a G. So we have G, B, D, G, D, G. If we play the 3-fingered G, that is also as common, by taking the ring finger off, the 3rd finger off, and play this one going through the notes. The notes are G, B, D, G, and because we've taken the ring finger off, we have an open B string and then a G. So same, 3 notes at the core of G are G, B and D. Again with the G major scale for that little bit of theory perspective, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which again means for our G chord that G is 1 from the scale, B is 3 from the scale, and D is 5 from the scale. This is the same principle for any major or minor chord. I could go off on so many different tangents at this point, but I want to stay focused on how we can apply this to the practical playing of the guitar and why on earth this has got anything to do with a lesson on triads. A recap. What you now know is that all major and minor chords only actually have at their core 3 notes, and that they're specific notes. They are the 1st, which is the root, the 3rd, and the 5th from their related scale. This is the triad. A little note before we move on. You do not need to know the notes in the scales in order to play chords in different places. The theory-based information I've just shared with you will contribute towards understanding and joining the dots the more you learn. You do need to know the 3 notes in the major or minor chord you're playing in order to find its triads around the fretboard. Now from a practical point of view, we're going to put what we've just learned into action. I'll start by showing you how you can work out the triads of your open chords, starting with the major triads and the D major chord. So what notes are in the open D chord? So that's 4 strings, D, A, D, F sharp. So we now know that this means our D triad is D, F sharp and A, because they're the only notes in it. We have 3 movable positions up the fretboard on the G, B and E strings, and 3 movable positions on the D, G and B strings that will give us D triads. So in total, already we have 6 variations of a D triad that we can play. There are more, but today we are focusing on these 6. Position number 1, you will recognise as the shape for the open D chord, but we're not going to play the D string. We're playing 3 strings, it's a triad, we only need 3 strings. So we're playing the G, B and E string, it's an A, a D and an F sharp, the 5th, the root and the 3rd. So remember that the root note, the D, is here on the 3rd finger for this shape. Position number 2 for the D major triad is on the 7th fret of the G, the 7th fret of the B, and the 5th fret of the high E. The 1st, the third and the fifth, D, F sharp and A. So the root is here where my ring finger is on the G string. Position 2. Position 3, 11th fret G string, 10th fret B string and E string. We have an F sharp, an A and a D, the third, the fifth and the first. The root note is here on the E string. So all three D major triads. If we want to go any higher up the fretboard, we repeat the shapes. So that's shape 1, shape 2, and then we run out of guitar. To give you some anchor points to recognise these shapes, shape number 2 is actually the highest 3 strings of the A-shaped bar chord. And shape number 3 is the highest 3 strings of the E-shaped bar chord. Moving on to the 3 major triad shapes on the D, G and B strings, still as D major triads. 4th fret D, 2nd fret G, 3rd fret B. That's it, F sharp, an A and a D. The 3rd, the 5th and the roots. So the root's on the B string where my middle finger is. Shape number 2, we're sliding up to the 7th fret on all the middle strings. So D, G, B, 7th fret. That's an A, a D and an F sharp. The 5th, the root on my middle finger. And the 3rd. And shape number 3, 12th fret D, 11th fret G, 10th fret B. That gives us a D, an F sharp and an A, the 1st, the 3rd and the 5th. So the root is on my 3rd finger. Quick recap on those. And if you recognise shape number 2 is the middle of the A-shaped bar chords, and shape number 3 is the middle of the E-shaped bar chord. So all 6 triads of D. A tangent I could go off on at this point would be to introduce the term of inversions. I'll be discussing that in a future tutorial. It's incredibly interesting. If you want to research a little bit deeper and understand the nuances, research inversions. For today, in this tutorial, in order to stay focused on the foundational element of triads, I'm going to refer to all of these shapes by their basic names of major triads. To further explore these shapes and their ever-increasing number of uses, they are called transpositional shapes. This means you can move them up and down the fretboard. As long as you keep the integrity of the shape, it will be another major triad. So if we take shape number 1 as the D, we know the root note is on the B string, it's on our ring finger. So if I move this shape up, say to fret number 10, so the 3rd finger lands on fret number 10, that's still a major triad. It's still shape 1, it's still a major triad. The note that this finger is on here on the fretboard is an A. So if that's truly the root note of this triad shape, this should be an A major triad. So we'll double check the notes. For example, we have an E, an A, and a C sharp. And if I go to my open A chord, the notes we're playing here are A, E, A, C sharp, E. The core notes being A, C sharp and E. So yes, it adds up. A, A. Shape 2 with the root on the G. Shape 3 with the root on the E. Now moving on to the minor triads. Open E minor chord. We have the notes E, B, E, G, B and E. So we know the triad notes are E, G and B. Again, with the same format, we have 6 transpositional shapes. So shape number 1 is our root note on the B. We have the B note, the E note and the G notes, the 5, 1, 3. So that's middle finger 4th fret G, ring finger 5th fret B, index finger 3rd fret E. Shape number 2, we have E, G, B. So the root note is on the G string where our 3rd finger is. We got 3rd finger 9th fret G, middle finger 8th fret B, index finger 7th fret E. 1, 3, 5. Shape number 3 is the 12th fret on the G, B and E strings. That's the 3rd, the 5th and the root note, so the root note's on the E string. And if you'll notice in these last 2 shapes, the shape number 2 is the high strings of the E minor A-shaped bar chords, and this shape number 3 is the high strings of the E-shaped E minor bar chord. Moving on to the D, G and B strings, we have shape number 1, which has the middle finger 5th fret D, index finger 4th fret G, ring finger 5th fret B. We're playing a G, a B and an E note, the 3rd, the 5th and the root. So the root is on the B string. Our second shape is 9th fret, 9th fret. So the D string and the G string are both the 9th fret, and the B string is the 8th fret. That plays a B, an E and a G, the 5th, the 1st and the 3rd. So the root note's on the G. And then the 3rd shape plays 14th fret D and 12th fret G, 12th fret B. So we've got E, G and B. The 1st, the 3rd and the 5th. So the root note is on that 3rd finger. A recap. If you'll notice here, this is the middle of the A-shaped E minor bar chord. And if you'll notice here, this is the middle of the E-shaped E minor bar chord. So our E minors So here are 6 major and 6 minor triad shapes that will enable you to play any open major or minor chord on any fret, anywhere on the neck. Looking now at a couple of exercises that will help you to incorporate these triad shapes into your practice routine. Great way to get them into your fingers and into your memory. Number 1, so I like to pick an open chord and then find the triads around the neck. So pick any open chord. Let's go with D minor. So we've got this one, then this one, then this one, this one, this one, and this one. Put a bit of a rhythm to it when you get to know them better. Keep it interesting. The next exercise I like to do is choose an easy chord song that you know and find ways to play it as different triads. So we recently as a tutorial did Wild Thing. It's super easy. we have an A chord, a D chord, an E chord, and a D chord. So if I wanted to play that using triads, we have an A here, we have a D right next door, we have an E 2 frets up in the same position, or we have an E there. So let's listen to that. A great song example that begins using some of the triads we've done today is Island in the Sun by Weezer. They start using the E minor here to an A minor, and then a D, and then the G. This is a drop in the ocean as far as a conversation on triads goes. I will be doing future extended videos on triads. This video on 12 different places you can play the F chord is incredibly useful and an ideal follow-on from this lesson. I'll see you next time.